please unmute yourself. That's the authenticity of the conversation. So Jace, we've now had them all introducing them, and we've got the going. Today's conversation is about thriving in a shifting market, and on the call is the pivot business owners. And I always, after our maps coaching sessions, you know, they say don't practice on your clients, but I do tell them what I've learned in our sessions. So please give us the rundown on Jess. You're a OP. You are a team leader for years. You've said it earlier when we warmed up the
17 years.
energy.
Yeah. Well, I've been in real estate my whole life. So I supported my mother when she was a realtor in the 80s in the US when the interest rates were 18%. So I've been through several different market shifts in different ways in real estate, from owning and running and leading brokerages to helping my mom, who was one agent with an assistant and sold 100 homes every year in the 80s. And this is back when you had to go pick up keys, and you know, it was amazing that she was able to accomplish that. And yet, so I've been involved in real estate my whole life. And so I love that I've been through shifts, because when I see a shift, I run at it, because I know how much money you can make in a shift and the opportunity that is on the other side of it. Because I've been through them before. You know, maybe our first shift, we weren't so graceful. You know, we didn't know what was happening, and we maybe didn't have the same mindset. But since I've been through multiple now, I know exactly what to expect with the market ahead. And for those that are listening to me and following me and doing it, they're killing it. And it just makes you feel good that you can help people like that, to know that when, you know, the market changes, it's not bad. And yet it's changing. And what really piqued my interest, Rolo, was when you and I were talking and you were sharing with me with Poppy, and is it Fika and Poppy? I watched a little bit of your video about that. That's a shift in itself for your whole industry, for your country, in addition to the economic shift that the world's facing right now. So you guys have two things going on, I think, that are really related to what we're going to talk about today.
It's exactly bringing me to that second question, Jace. Shift. So I want to take you to what shift is a big thing, and everybody's understanding of it is an interpretation is always different. So when COVID happened in 2020, Keller Williams had Bolt. And then the most amazing thing is we didn't have any other answer. We only had that shift book. And that's where we had to dive in. So I want to sort of ask you a couple of questions in sort of the same, that idea of shift. What is happening? Please give us that rundown on that shift, because in the email you sent me, we were talking about the rates changes that are happening in our countries. And we know that there's a ripple effect of what's happening in America. It's going to happen in South Africa. So I want to sort of ask you all of these, give us the shift understanding, the implication to a buyer in January could have a 500,000 Rand home and now a 395, I call it Rand. And then one of the notes I've got here on my card is what we love, and you say in America, you talk about your inventory. And then in one of our discussions, you said within something like X amount of days, America could be sold out because there's no inventory. Talk to us about that. Yes.
Yeah. So here's the thing. A shift can be created in many different ways. And if you look at page 11 of Shift, they actually kind of list the ways that a shift gets started. And the evidence that a shift happened is what we talk about, like days on market is different, or there's not as much inventory. So people get confused when they say, are we in a shift? They're like, well, no, days on market hasn't changed yet. Well, there's cause and effect in both. So what causes a shift, if we look at page 11, it's basically currency exchange rates, political climate. You think we're in a political climate in the world right now, right? Just a war going on. And other primary global factors are the primary way. On a national level, so this would be like the US or your country, on a national level, it's interest rates, which we'll talk a little bit about, and inflation. The US is trending at 9 and 10% inflation. It is out of control here, you guys. My home has increased in value by 49% in the last 16 months. It's insane. The US is out of control. So what the federal government is doing, they've been very clear on what they're going to do. And so if you look at, let's go back to the last shift. If we talk about a massive shift, we'll all talk about 08, 09, when our mortgage industry collapsed in the US. We had Countrywide Mortgage, which was the largest mortgage holder in the US. It was like number one, and the next was like a third its size. Failed. That had such a ripple effect that you all felt, and really it collapsed the US market. The home I'm in dropped in value by 70%. So if you put that in perspective, in certain parts of the US, the market completely crashed. And so during that time, 48% of the agents left the industry in just 2 years in the US. So that is the last real market shift I've been through. And yet this one is not going to be like that, but it's got telltale signs of similarities. So we can use those as predictors of what's ahead. And we know what the opportunities are ahead. What's different about this market shift is it's federal government driven. So the federal government has decided to try to control this inflation in the US by raising rates. And when they've focused and targeted on the real estate industry specifically because of how crazy our prices are going up. So they're using rates to slow us down, and they intend to have an 11.5% shift in kind of our momentum in the market. They've already told us this, and they're going to continue to raise. So since January, rates in the US have gone from 3% to today they're at 6.5%. So if you realize what that means, the shift started when those rates started being raised in January, because our buyer pool is just getting eliminated. If I was a buyer that went to a lender and got kind of pre-qualified and got a feel for what I could afford in January, and they told me I'd pay around a 3% interest rate and that maybe I could spend up to like $500,000 US, today I'm at about $365,000 as my buying power. Well, let's be honest. If I'm working with you, you're my realtor and I'm working with you, and I have been online shopping for my $500,000 dream home, and now my reality is I'm going to get a condo for $365,000. There's not even homes here for $365,000. Am I going to buy? Probably not. Or I'll continue to rent and hope that the war ends soon or that the market starts shifting soon. But yet most people don't realize that the shift is that our buyer pool is going to really diminish. And that's what's going to raise our inventory. Now, to give you perspective, most of you probably know where Atlanta is. Atlanta is a giant metro. And yet there's this one particular metro area of Atlanta that I coach. And we've been watching listing inventory, and it's been holding steady for this real micro market that we're watching at about 275 new listings every week. Every week. It's been 294, 263, 270. So we've been watching it. So I asked, like I do every week, what her numbers are. And she told me I made a mistake. And she's like, this can't be right. So she brought it up. 2,984 in 1 week. They haven't had over 200 listings in the market in almost 2.5 years. And so now it's a micro market we were watching for a reason, because it's luxury and it's also second homes, and it's a little bit of commercial, but it's pretty much predominantly that. And it really is telling, because when we have a shift, if we investigate the market and we watch stats and kind of see what the trends are, if we watch luxury and then the middle range and the low range separately, you'll see shifts happen at different times. So it's really interesting to me to see what we've gone through and now what's ahead, because they're not the same kind of shift. It's not a mortgage meltdown that created it. It's a federally driven rate hike to slow our roll in the US and to correct our economy in the US. And they're not done. So they're intending to do another price hike. We're thinking it's going to go up to 8 in the US. So again, if you go back to me being that buyer that was 500,000 in January, I don't have the graphic in front of me that I made for you, Rolo, but at 8%, I'm not buying because I'm going to get a shack, not the house of my dreams, right?
Do you want me to share it?
Sure. And this is stuff I do for my agents, not to put any pressure on you, Rolo.
Not at all.
But I still am a team leader at heart and an investor in our market center. So I make infographics for my agents to be able to explain what the market's doing in plain English to, post on Instagram or database, emails or whatever, Facebook, whatever you do, WhatsApp, you can blast this on WhatsApp. So if you want to use any of this, knock yourself out. And Rolo will give it to you. But here is, how do I get that? I don't know how I pinned myself, and I don't know how to unpin myself because I'm not as familiar with this, Rolo.
Sorry, can you see my screen, Jace? There's the green one.
I pinned it. Yep. Okay. So this is just an infographic I made for our agents, and it basically just shows how my buying rate's going to diminish. So in the scenario that we've been talking about, if I'm a $500,000 buyer, if it gets to 8, I'm only going to be able to afford $295. I mean, that's not, no one's probably going to buy at that point. I can't imagine, unless you had to. So when you explain the market like this, it kind of is eye-opening to people. And then this is what mortgage rates have been since 1971 to current. Now, why this is important is we haven't been at 6% since 2007 in the US. And then look how fast that line jogs up in 2022. So literally just think of it, you guys, from, I don't know where your rates are in your country, but if ours were 3 to 6.5 in just literally 6 months. So you can figure out how that would impact you guys. I mean, literally anyone that has a buyer pool has to get them re-evaluated pretty regularly with a lender to make sure that they're still lendable. And then the challenge is you have the race for inventory because you don't have much inventory. So then they're more urgent and more frustrated when they don't get a deal than you can imagine. So that's the market here. And I know it's going to affect you guys. I know it's going to ripple across the world because that's unfortunate what happens in many cases. And yes, I don't know.
I'm going to say there that exactly what you've just said on page 11, is the inventory. It's the cause effect, the interest rate. So even in South Africa, it's still affordable, very affordable to own real estate because we are actually still at our lowest in X amount of years, 50 odd years, 30 years. Let me not commit to that. Is the one thing I want to say is, and yet our interest rate has gone up. So there is X amount of overpriced stock because there's another factor that we've got in South Africa is the Property Practitioners Act. So to operate in South Africa as a property professional, there's things that needs to happen, fees, etc. And that has really just happened in the past couple of weeks, I'll say, which is really changing the playing field for property professionals. That 28, 29, you're talking about what we refer to the recession we had in South Africa. So whenever we have those conversations,
I feel so bad. I feel like the US causes a lot of trouble.
No, not at all. It is, that's why we're having this.
Steady. It's like, good Lord.
That's why we're having this conversation, Jess, because there's always a ripple effect. And even what we have is what we call Lightstone. It gives you property reporting, and you can see the trends of the suburbs, etc., which is tying in with the dates and the times that we're talking about.
Right.
You were talking about buying power that's changing. A very, very big effect politically in our country at the moment is the petrol conversation. So living expenses in South Africa is a different thing. Jess, I want to win on time, and thank you for that, because I know you're probably going to refer in what you're saying next. There's a very important thing you also mentioned is the listing count and the trends. So I think when you talk about 200 new listings, just for X, that's huge numbers you talk about. Um,
But you can see
trends.
that, like, you guys, it happens that fast. It's like we talk about it, we talk about it, we talk about it, like, whoa, it just happened. And I can't screen share, but I just did this for my own neighborhood for my husband because he sells in our neighborhood. And I can show in a graph that we hit the high. We hit the high for our neighborhood in that in the last 3 months. Luxury in our neighborhood is definitely trending. So we're going to do a database touch about that and be like, okay, if you've got a difficult property to sell, you better get it on now before you miss the mark. Because you guys know, because you guys are elite agents, you understand when a market shifts, probably what to be doing differently. And it would be good to remind ourselves of what those things are, like become a communicator of the economy and the market and what's happening. Scream from the rooftops what's going. If you were sending a database touch once a month, send 4 a month. It's just talk more and more frequently, because you're the expert. This is the largest asset for most people, and you're really an asset manager as a realtor. You're not just a salesperson. You're really helping them choose the market they want to sell in or buy in or invest in. And yet with the market ahead, it's going to be very skill based. We're going to have to defend our commission. We're going to have to really defend or really educate to get reasonable pricing. This is for the US. You guys may not have some of these dilemmas. Listing terms is going to be a big deal, because we put a lot of money in a listing with photography. I'm sure you guys do as well, but Florida is kind of snobby about, if you're not putting, billboards up, you're just not doing enough, so there's a lot of pressure on the agents here to stage, invest in that listing. And if they won't give you enough time to get it sold, or they have unreasonable expectations, you could see how you could really get in trouble financially by putting money out on listings that aren't going to sell. So that's the market ahead for my agents. And so we're shifting gears with the training, and my top agents are plugging back in, because this next market, they've got to dust off the rust a little with some of this. We've had a lot of come list me years. And, when someone that you used to having a come list me kind of conversation says, Rolo will do it for 4%. Will you? That's the stuff we have to get ready for, because that is the market ahead for us in the US. So we're really shifting gears, and we're also excited because we know the discounters are going to be gone. Bye-bye. It's amazing. They just disappear overnight. All these little discounter companies. And the
Sorry, I
best of
want to interrupt you there. Sorry, sweetie. I
yeah,
know
yeah.
it's rude, but you are saying such powerful things. And I want to capitalize on almost what you've said to steer the conversation,
Okay,
because
go for it.
I feel you and I hear you. And the noises you're making is exactly what we're experiencing on our side. And that's that skills-based market. So that's why I'm interrupting you, is because you talk
Yeah.
about defending your commission. That is a big thing, is the negotiation of commission. The listing terms is already changing for us. We are all also at an expense on that invest. Um, and you also mentioned the plug back in, that top producer, the elite agent plugging back in. That's what I just want to remind you to win on the most powerful time. That shift, that skills-based market you talk about. Give us that power, please.
Yeah. So I'm not certain of your statistics, but in my world, 8 out of 10 of the agents that are active in the MLS in the US have not been through a market shift. They joined real estate after the recovery, the recession. Okay. I'm not sure what your numbers look like. However, they're trembling. They hear a lot of chatter. They're feeling it, and they've never been in a market that required any skill. You know, truth is, because of the way our values went skyrocketing, we didn't have to price. We put a sign in the yard and a demand of what we wanted, and we were still getting 125,000 over list. And we actually just helped 2 of our family members buy in our neighborhood, and they both bought homes well into the millions, and they both put offers in, I think 125,000 over list to get the house with no cash, no terms, no walk out. And that is that's how wild this market is right now. And that's why we're raising rates, to slow it down and get it back into order, so we don't have another 2008, 2009. However, there was no skill. I gotta tell you, I have this a couple of agents I've hired during this, and they're doing 15 million only selling 10 houses. And I'm like, ooh, this is going to be interesting to see how they equip themselves for the market ahead, because it's going to be really painful for them. Those of us have been through it. We remember what skill is, and you can sharpen your axe, but, don't skip steps for the listings ahead. Don't assume you have anything, don't just assume because someone, they're going to list with you. You've got to fight for those listings. And you've also got to communicate now to everybody, so that they see you as that magnet to go to for the market ahead. So if we've been a little lazy with that communication cadence, social media cadence, handwritten notes, birthday, whatever you did in the past, you got to start doing it again. And I would add in video. If it's not video of you, it's just video of information or the market. Some people really don't like doing their own video. You don't have to do your own video. You could interview a lender. You could do this and just record it and share insights from a lender on the market ahead. So if you're a little shy or you don't really care to do that, focus on the information that people want. But I would be really doing like a ×4 communication cadence of whatever you've done in the past. And focus on the relationships you have versus transactional lead gen, meaning I know you guys have a little different way of doing things, but in the US, a lot of people postcard a neighborhood with like 3,000 postcards when they sell a house. That's less effective in the market ahead. If you would just talk to the 300 people, you'd get way further than trying to postcard. And it's funny because the agents that don't know what they're doing go and spend a ton of money on that garbage. So you really want to look at what works, what doesn't. And if you just become a communicator to your database by sharing, infographics of what does this mean when the rates go up, what does this mean? Because they need to be understanding of what you're sharing, like that infographic that Rolo put up. That's kind of like, this is the scenario of the average buyer right now. That's understandable. And when people see that you can put out information like this, they're just going to flock to you. They're going to refer you. They're going to see you as that expert in the asset that they most care about,
Jess, I just love what is happening on this call. My notes is all over. So what I love is what I say, that communication cadence. We've got campaigns and the 8x8s and the 12s and all of those and yet it's simple things that we're not always leveraging. What
well,
I've also loved is that trembling that you said, that no skills, the agents joining, and you almost confirmed, and I think the other team leaders on the call are having a little giggle about the social media and the power of that social media, which I want to sort of tie in at the same time with the wild market. So you're a team leader, OP, everything. I mean, your one market center, 600 odd people. and this is what I want the elites to hear on the call, and the other team leaders are gonna love this. So I walk now hypothetically into your office. The shift is happening. I've got Facebook. My numbers are happening, and everything. Give me the three things. So I sit in front of you and I go to you, Jessica, here I am, Kappa, millionaire, top earner. I have got 60% market share. Give me the three things I need to do for the shift ahead so that I still survive. What would you say?
So I'd go right to your database, and I would, number one, start there. And I would ask everyone if they have any real estate needs this year, if they're thinking of buying, selling, investing, or even renovating their own home, because because of the market being so interesting, that you want to kind of give them a clue on how to best capitalize the market and timing of the market and resources you might have. So I would put that out, that message out, that I am your resource if you're thinking about doing anything real estate related. And if you are, we need to catch up on what the market's doing, because there's a lot of unique action going on. Different opportunities at different times, different market situations at different price points. Now, one of the things, and can you screen share with Google Hangouts or
Yeah,
no?
you can, Jace. What you can do is you just at the bottom of the screen it says present now. There's a
Can,
little block with an arrow. Just click on it and then pick either a window or a tab.
okay, I want to show you this. This is what I pulled up this morning. Can you see, it says market, oh, here it is, it's coming up.
Yeah.
This is what I put together for my husband about our neighborhood, the luxury market. And this is what I said I could show on a graph that we actually hit the high. And this is median price for homes for sale. And you can see kind of where we hit the high right here. What's interesting is how this correlates with when the rates popped up. The rates really popped up in the US March 31st. What an April Fool's joke, right? Bummer. What a bummer. But if you look, right at around March 31st is really where things just started to die off. So if I was going to list my home, I would have listed at 1.8 or 1.9 million. It's now 1.7. That's kind of a drop quickly. That's $200,000 in just a few weeks, we're talking. Does that blow your mind how fast it happens? So I have access where I can pull data like this, which is great. I don't know if you guys have things like that, but in the same market, same neighborhood, this is 500 and under. Well, that market is tight. There's no wiggle in pricing. It's going up still just a itty bit, but it's not like leveling off. So you can see in my one neighborhood, the luxury market has already kind of capped out, and the mid-market is holding firm, and it's actually going up a little bit. So being able to show this and communicate this to our neighborhood is going to really help my husband stand out compared to the other. There's like 1,000 realtors in my neighborhood, it seems like, but there's a lot of us. But yeah, you know, that's a kind of intel that the people that know us in our neighborhood are going to be like, okay, yeah, I need to talk to them if I'm thinking about doing anything. And, you know, you think of yourself with swagger, you guys are the elite. Use your swagger because you guys know what to do. You may need to remind yourselves and reacquaint yourself with things that you might need to, you know, practice a little or work on. You might need to update your listing packet, right? You might need to add video or something into your communication world. I don't know. Yet probably you guys have more opportunity in this Zoom here to dominate the market ahead than anyone. And you get it for a couple different reasons, not only the market, but you also have it because you've got a change of law potentially, or for surely, I don't know, with your industry, which is going to eliminate a bunch of realtors right there. By just eliminating a bunch of realtors, that's what the shift did in the US in 08 and 09. because of the mortgage meltdown, 48% of the agents left the business. Well, you know, the 52 that stayed in, you know how much money we made? Woo! I made more money in 08, 09, 10, 11 than I did for the decade before. And then I owned it. That was now all mine. So our database went from 300 to 3,000 because of word of mouth. Now, the other thing is, I don't know if it's possible, but if you have all these, you know, non-qualified agents leaving the market, who's going to use their database? I mean, and can you still pay them a referral fee or something? But, you know, you guys could really capitalize on market share growth by just doing those two things. So first, back to your database, love on your database, communicate, own that. That's your people. That's your community. Get your arms around it. Are you the mayor of your town? That's your town. Do they think of you as the person to go to or the number to share when someone is discussing real estate, investment, you know, anything like that? And the only way you earn that is through communication. So I would, you know, use every type of technology that's legal. In America, it's really dangerous to cold call anymore because we get sued like crazy. But we used to do like voicemail drops with slide broadcast and, but you know, WhatsApp, you could do like a video message about the market. There's lots of things you can do. I would just like quadruple what you're doing. And I would definitely, if possible, add video into your world.
Chase, unbelievable what has happened. I'm telling you now, this video is going to hit big numbers because it's all about video, all about social media. We've also, like you getting sued, we've got what we call the Poppy Act, which is becoming a reality on our side. And be the mayor of your town is what I love. The communication. We do have what we call Lightstone in South Africa, which the Keller Williams agents are fortunate to have the database and use your resources. Let's go back to basics. Then, as we want to wrap up, and before I ask questions, Jess, give me that power thing because now after the call, everybody is going to say, Rolo, it was amazing. Give us the power-based pages. If you had to pick a survival pages in the shift, to start reading, to be sort of your lifeline for the next 30, 60, 90, 30, 60, 90, that you can be geared to have an amazing Christmas. Please give us those page numbers so that we can all get cracking on reading and finding the answers.
So when you are even at a listing presentation, I bring a shift book with you. And then if you open up pages 10 and 11, you can show this and it explains the shift with great visual aids. and anyone that has any common sense will be able to understand what you're saying and explaining. And it reiterates what causes a shift, not days on market and inventory. That's what agents talk about, days on market inventory. No, that's a result. A shift is caused by basically global strife, which we are definitely in, a change in interest rates, and a change in inflation. Okay, we got the trifecta going. So, you know, and it's hard to say. People actually are telling me, oh, no, we're not in a shift. And then I just show them the graph of the interest rates in the US. I said, we started shifting in January. Now, you can wait until you see the days on market go to 150 to say we're in a shift, but I'm going to start shifting right now because that's where you make the money. Those of us that run at the obvious right now, which is just gather your people and start communicating, because in each shift there's also a win. This is a great market for someone wanting to buy up. There's a lot of wins in this market. It's like, you know, the stock market. When the stock market shifts or drops, it's not like stockbrokers go and cry in the corner. No, they go buy, buy, buy versus sell, 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 right? That's us. We're the order of what the market's doing and where their opportunities are, because there's still an opportunity for everyone. Opportunity that is in the US that might be similar to you guys is that if you look at second home and investment property, besides government and wholesale owners, the baby boomers are the biggest group of owners. And truth is, their properties are probably at the high of the high right now of value. Okay. Well, in the US, for your second home, third home, fourth home, all your investment property, you're not protected by homestead rights, which keep your taxes in alignment. They don't let taxes get out of control. There's a limit to how much that can go up every year. Not for your other homes, though. So if I'm a baby boomer, probably looking to start cashing out, and I know my property is worth the most it probably ever will be in my lifetime, and these other properties are getting expensive to own, and I don't have as much income really coming in because my renters can't pay me anymore, but my insurance is going up and my taxes are going up and everything else is going up, I might just choose to sell right now. So for inventory, go find your people that are that person and educate them about, is your asset, not your home, but your assets that you have as investments, at the high of their high. Now, in some cases, it's not a good time for people to sell for whatever reason. Maybe they're too young or they don't want to, but sometimes it might make sense for them. In the US, we do what's called a 1031 exchange, which is a huge tax benefit, huge. And what we can do is show them how to take those other properties and do an exchange into like a commercial property or property that's less headache. And it puts them in a whole nother tax realm, which is great. That's the kind of things we're sharing right now in the US, because we're that asset manager. We're not a realtor. We're going to protect their greatest asset. We're going to communicate and educate them about the market. And we're going to share at such a high level because, like you, we're the elite in our market. And we're going to do it with veracity. So we're going to communicate on every channel possible so that everyone sees us as that local expert. And that's what I hope you guys all take from today. Now, the other thing I'm going to tell you, because I want to help Rolo and Tippin and Melanie today, is that when real estate gets tough, when real estate gets a little more difficult, recruiting gets easy. And it really is true. And this is why discounters close. Many large brokerages have to downsize leadership or locations, and people get all in a dither about that. There's just a lot of movement. When an agent struggles, they usually look outward for a solution. And so when you think about your own wealth, I'm sure many of us have many years of work ahead of us that we enjoy. But if you're thinking wealth management, I think that the next 18 months is the greatest wealth grab for growth share, to be honest with you. And my husband and I do really, really well. And yet we haven't added anyone in our database or our recruiting tree in so long. I feel guilty because I'm a team leader and I really haven't. It's been way too long, and we're getting refocused on that because we want to pump up the wealth in this market ahead. And, why not gather as many people? And it's nothing more than you guys inviting guests to stuff like this that aren't getting information like this where they're at. And 8 out of 10 people haven't been through what's ahead. And so they're just grabbing information and grateful to have it. So when Rolo gives good stuff to you, give it out, share it with your friends, invite them to go check us out, because that's really another huge opportunity you have, is not only grab your market share back and control it for the market ahead, it's build some wealth while you're doing it.
Chase, I love you for everything that's happened. I can't spend time on even putting that together. All I want to say is, darling pivot agents, it's time to bring those R2s. Let Rolo grow your growth share and your company dollar share. Chase, we've literally got 2 minutes on the clock because of time. Anybody that wants to ask a question or say anything, please take your time now before we need to say a huge thank you. You see, they're also aware of Jess. I'm gonna be the rude one here because they all feel like you in their lounges. You have brought tips, and if I show you all my little pieces of paper here with everything, huge big thank you. I'm sure we can't wait to see you in family reunion in February. And I can promise you we're gonna do this again before the end of the year.
Oh yes.
Because now we're geared to go and do it. And then when we see one another again, we're going to implement it. Pivoteers and Jess, huge big thank you for today. Donkey Yalla, appreciate you. Thanks,
Bye
Jess.
guys.
Have a fabulous day. Cheers.
Thanks,
See ya.
Jessica.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, Yalla,
Bye.
donkey.